completely kind of new and different than the original candles, because this is purely based on home fragrance, you know, like a fine fragrance that is translated into home fragrance. It's all inspired by my travels. I travel around the world constantly, and it's all inspired around my travels. And in the introduction, we wrote, you know, that the sense of smell is the one thing that leaves the greatest impact on our memory. So I wanted to bring all these experiences into life via fragrance. And I kind of chose the three fragrances that we started with are three fragrances of places that really are kind of engraved in my memory. One of them is India, which is I have a very big passion for. Russia, which is very interesting to me, especially the history of Russia. And then Morocco, which is my heritage. So kind of created those three fragrances based on specific experiences that I had. So we'll start with the Russian. I traveled to Russia about 4 years ago for the first time, and went a few times after, but the first time was very impactful because I started in St. Petersburg, and I had a great private tour of the Hermitage and the Gold Room, which is incredible. And then got to spend about a week in St. Petersburg and really kind of understand the way it was built, etc. And they called it like Venice of the North because it was actually the Tsar decided to recreate Venice in Russia, and then he brought all the artisans and all the architects and all the master paintings. That's why the Hermitage is such an amazing museum, because they decided to create. They wanted to have the second largest. They wanted to compete with Europe with their art. So they commissioned all these amazing artists, and the story takes place in 1975. It's a French antique dealer that is world renowned, and he's getting invited by a private family in St. Petersburg to view their collection. And he travels by train for 2 days, and then he gets to the house and he gets escorted into the library where they have all these beautiful art and leather-bound books and upholstery, and the fire is going, and on the side there's all the samovars brewing tea. And the Russian tea is the most potent tea in the world. Actually, the Russian discovered the tea from China, where it's originated, and they brought it in as a remedy. They thought it was a medicine, so they used to brew it very, very dark and heavy to heal themselves. So I wanted to capture that, kind of like walking into a library with a fire burning, a lot of tea brewing, and all these antiquities. And this is the fragrance. So here you have. The top note is lemon zest and coriander seeds. The heart is hay oil, beeswax absolute, and milk. There's actual milk. The base is patchouli, friction, amber, and Russian leather. In all the fragrances, everything is made with essential oils. There's nothing synthetic. Not that there's something wrong with synthetic, but we wanted to keep it very organic and natural. And you'll see in the color of the waxes, every wax is actually calibrated for the oil to maximize the fragrance. The second one,
What type of wax is it?
it's a paraffin. It's a regular paraffin wax, but it's all biodegradable. The second one is the Mamunia, which is inspired by my heritage. I wanted it to smell like my grandparents' home. They lived in Marrakesh, and they had a riad, and a riad is the traditional home in Morocco, which is basically built around the courtyard. And then all the fragrances from the house kind of find themselves in the courtyard. So you have the kitchen and the living room and the hammam, which is the bath. And then of course in the courtyard they grow a lot of roses. It's kind of like the preferred flower of Morocco. So I wanted to kind of create a fragrance that gives you that entire effect of walking into a home that has, you know, a lot of spicy and sweet in the kitchen, and the infusion of a lot of roses, and then the brewed mint tea, and the eucalyptus, and the honey, and the amber, and all of that together.
Must have taken a while.
Yes.
I get the mint there.
So the mint is the top note because every Moroccan home, when you come in, the first thing they do is serve you mint tea. So I wanted that to kind of welcome you right away. So the top note is the spearmint nana from Morocco, which is the mint that grows in the desert. It has a little more of a dustiness to it. The heart is rose de May, the May roses, which are the famous rose festival in Marrakesh. Moroccan rose absolute, geranium, and orange flower absolute. The orange flower is used a lot to fragrance the body, but also in food in Morocco. And the heart, the base is leather, amber, and honey. So we mixed a lot of musk and spicy, sweet, and a little more, what is like, musky.
Well, I mean, she's done a fabulous job.
Kunyit is actually in the story. It's about an address in Morocco.
that's right.
In Morocco, yes. And then the last one is number 6, which is the Indian jasmine. So what I wanted to create was the two contrasts in India, the north and the south, the the rich and the poor. India has such an amazing impact. Have you ever been to India?
No.
It has such an amazing impact on you because everything, all the contrasts of life are in your face constantly. So it's a lot to take in. It's very stimulating. You see the richest of the rich and the poorest of the poor, and they're all kind of melded together somehow. It all works. But I created like a romantic story around it. I've been to India maybe 12 times, so I created a romantic story about a love story that starts in the north. Starts actually in the south, but it's a guy from the north. He grew up in Kashmir, and he is an heir to a saffron farm, which is the one precious flower of India. And then a girl from the south who grew up in a jasmine farm, but she comes from a lower caste, so they're not supposed to be together. And he goes on a trip, and he goes to the flower market, to the jasmine market, because it's a prated flower. And he walks around, and then somehow he ends up at her stall, and he completely falls in love with her ways and her gentleness, and of course the smell. But there's such a forbidden love there because he comes. I mean, she falls in love with his spiciness and his, like this mountain man, and he loves her softness and basically the exact opposite of who he is. But there's a lot of guilt there because they're not supposed to be together, and the fragrance is supposed to smell like the way that her skin smells after the first time they make love. So it's very aphrodisiac. Jasmine is very aphrodisiac, and I wanted to show all these like contrasts, and also sometimes the heart speaks louder than the rules of the head. So we took jasmine and laced it with saffron. So there's the heart. The top is actually saffron, cumin, nutmeg, and green leaves, which is the spiciness of the mountain man. And then the heart is jasmine grandiflorum, which is the purest form of jasmine. Jasmine sambac absolute, which is another form of jasmine that is used a lot in fine fragrances. And ylang ylang, which is again one of the family, ylang ylang, it's one of the family of jasmine. And the base is patchouli, Peruvian balsam, sandalwood, birch tar, and civet. Civet is actually a pheromone that animals give when they mate.
Oh, yes.
So we added a little bit of that to accentuate the aphrodisiac. 6 is, in the story it says it was a potent cocktail. She lost track of time completely. Oh, sorry, I'm reading the other story. So, as he leaned in to admire the jasmine garland, she could smell the unmistakable bittersweet aroma of the spice. Suddenly a market bell in the hour, punctuating the moment their eyes locked. It was 6 o'clock. When the market closes, the jasmine blooms and a new love blossoms. So actually jasmine opens only at night.
Oh, interesting.
Around 6 o'clock, that's when the flower opens. Usually it looks like this. During the day, it's like this, and then at night it opens and gives the fragrance. And it was kind of like this magic hour where it opens and gives fragrance, new love, etc. The way we designed the collection, we took the two elements that the brand is most known for, which is porcelain and metalwork. So we took a bronze lid coaster that fits perfectly at the top to cover when you don't burn, but when you do burn the candle, it fits perfectly in the base. So it's a perfect fit, which is a very complicated workmanship to do. And then it's all bisque with the number. I love that graphicness. I think it fits in a traditional and also in a modern home, and people are very much attracted to numbers. So that was the original, the concept behind the design. 350 grams, so it's one of the largest candles under $100 at that level. So it's $95 retail. We are basically the same caliber as Seal True.
So nice to see you.
It's about 100. Depends on how you burn. But just to give you an idea, it's about 70 gram more than Seal Trudon, and about 50 gram more than the candle that is $90. And here you have a porcelain with a bronze lid. The boxes, we designed the boxes in a Ruby cube system because we wanted to have. I didn't want it to feel like a cosmetic floor. I wanted to have a little more interesting way about it. So we hired a master illustrator, and we gave him all those stories that I just told you, and then that's how we designed the boxes. This is the guy that went to Russia and then like tasting the Russian tea for the first time with just like intensity in the eye, and then the antiquity emblems, and then on the Russian tea. Sorry, that's the Russian tea, but then on the Indian, you see the her with the guilt, the bindi, and him just completely taken by the fragrance and her beauty. And then the Mamunia is the entrance to the Riyadh.
Oh, yes, okay.
The entrance to the Riyadh, which is always like, all you see is just a big door and you don't know what's behind it, and then you open and there's a beautiful courtyard. And then one of the traditions of hand painting henna. So these are all master illustrated, and the idea is that when you put it on the floor, you have these really beautiful graphics, and they're very dynamic, and they're kind of like, they draw you in. On top of the 3 fragrances that we introduced, we also created an incense burner, which is kind of the new wave of home fragrance. It's of course very ancient, burning incense, but it's coming back big time. Town and Country and Vogue named it as the new candle as burning incense. So we took the symbol of the brand, which is the amphora, and the origin of the amphora was to, in the old days, the amphoras used to be to carry all your jewels, your gold or olive oil, which was a very high commodity, precious commodity at the time. And today in the Aegean Sea or in the Mediterranean, when they do archaeological digs, they find a lot of treasures inside amphoras. So I thought it was a very appropriate thing for the brand, but also for travels, because that's what you would travel with. And we put the, so it goes in, there's a little hole inside the base, and then just light the incense, let it light for like 5 to 10 seconds, and then it will start smoking the fragrance, and it will start lifting the fragrance through the amphora. It's a very mystical, sexy, bohemian way. And also the beauty about it is that it doesn't, usually incense just leaves a lot of dust and mess, so this is just a beautiful thing. So if you can imagine it on a coffee table, it's a beautiful or ornamental.
Oh yeah.
Beautiful object. So it's $150 retail for the amphora. It comes with the base, and then $50 for the sticks. There are 60 sticks, and then also it's very easy to, if you want to turn it off, you just reverse the stick.
Snuff it out.
And can you use it again, or is it a one-time use?
Absolutely, no. And there's 60 sticks in the box.
Okay.
They come like this. There's 60 of them in the box.
Okay.
Sorry.
And that comes in the box with the amphora?
No, they're
it's
sold
separate.
separately
Okay,
because a lot of people burn